went and saw a documentary I'd been looking forward to for a while. It's Werner Herzog's new documentary that premiered at Sundance. It's about the internet, called Lo and Behold, Reveries of the Connected World. And so I liked a lot of it. I liked a lot of the ideas. I liked learning, like the early part of the film, you learn a lot about how the internet sort of came to be. And I found that really fascinating. And there were some stuff with some hackers that I found interesting. And actually, I really enjoyed the stuff with Elon Musk, and he's usually someone that creeps me out. So the fact that Herzog made me actually kind of like him was interesting. But I guess my main complaint, obviously, as someone who works in social media, is that they don't even delve into social media at all. And it's like, if you're talking about the connected world, like, how do you not have one section talking about social media at all? And they have one section where they should talk to a family who were harassed after their daughter died, with photos of her, like, decapitated head, and that was showing sort of the dark side of some things that can happen from the internet, and that was really traumatic and kind of made me very sad for this family. But at the same time, like, if you're going to talk about the dark side of the internet, what about all of the harassment of women? Like, that's not even touched upon, mostly because it has to do with social media, and social media was completely left out of the conversation. I also thought I would have liked, so the talking heads are like some people who were some of the data scientists and computer scientists who were early inventors of the internet. There were a hacker, there was Elon Musk, there was really only one woman talking head, but she was some sort of, I don't even know what she was, some sort of really crazy astronomer or something. She talked about the sun. I can't remember what she did, but I could tell she was very smart. And there were some other, there were radio scientists and things like that, all talking about, and robot people who make robots. And they were all talking about, some of them, and like one internet historian, which I think, I'm glad there's such a thing. But essentially, there were people talking about the how it started. There were people talking about how they've used it in terms of, like, the hackers and things, and security analysts. And then they had sort of scientists who are working towards using the internet to move forward and towards the future and things like that. But what they didn't talk to, and I would have thought would have been interesting in a film sort of about a connectivity revolution, would be sociologists and anthropologists. Because there's tons of anthropologists working on the internet communities, and they really don't even talk much about internet communities, to be honest. And I just think with huge changes in technology like this, anthropologists are sort of someone you'd want to be talking to, and sociologists. And they really kind of ignored arts in general, so there wasn't much about, and again, this is because they didn't talk about social media, they didn't really talk about the rise of artists using the internet to connect to fans and consumers and getting themselves out there. But I guess none of this is really complaints about the film itself, because the film itself is very interesting, and I was like sucked in, and I loved every minute of it. But it's more like the story of the internet is so large that to have every facet of it, you couldn't fit it into a 100-minute movie. And unfortunately for me, as someone who not only works in social media but loves social media and loves the connectivity of internet groups, and has for pretty much 2/3 of my life, leaving that part of the story out felt like the way I use the internet, proactively anyways, was left out. Because obviously, I understand how a lot of the things they were talking about are ways that I use the internet that I don't think about. With the way money is transferred and digital records and things like that. So that's covered, and because most people use the internet even if they don't know they're using the internet, for their day-to-day life, and they really go into that. But I don't know, I just couldn't quite get over the fact that it didn't talk about community in any way. And that's what you could have an anthropologist come in and talk about, and then that would have been like one more segment, I guess. and I would have liked that. And then you would have had a 2-hour movie instead of an hour and 90-minute movie. But otherwise, I found it really fascinating, and it was very Herzogian, although it had so many talking heads that it was hard to sort of remember who everybody was and how they all connected, how each of their jobs sort of connected together. So I guess if you had an anthropologist, that would have been just like, you would have had like a Robert Altman documentary at that point. The other thing that I didn't like, and it didn't have to do with the movie, is more like I can't fathom why you would do this, is they talk to these robotic people. There's a lot of, I feel like a lot of the people I talked to worked at Carnegie Mellon, and there was a lot of different aspects of how the internet and technology is being developed at Carnegie Mellon. And one of them was these guys that are making these robots that they hope by 2050 will be able to beat the FIFA World Champions at soccer. And I just, with things like that, or like some other guy I was talking about at some point, absolutely there'll be robots that can make movies. And I just want to be like, why? Why do we need robots that can play soccer so well that we don't need athletes? Like, why do we need robots to take over the sort of parts of humanity that are about expression? I understand using robots to make things go faster and to, for example, there were robots that are designed to go into emergency situations where humans would die if they went in. That's great. I understand the need for that. I'm also a little creeped out that we're leading towards a place where we'll probably start using robots as slaves. That's a little creepy. It's a little creepy. But the thought of making robots that replace human endeavor in ways that don't need to be efficient, as like sports and like art, just, I don't understand the point of that. I don't understand why we would want that. So, sort of like, this is quasi-related, why I really hated WALL-E when I saw it, because it felt too real. It felt like we're heading toward this place where we're letting robots do everything and turning into fat blobs who are going to destroy the planet. Like, we're still headed there. It's like 10 years ago that movie came out. We're still headed in that direction, you know? I don't know. I also appreciated, there's at one point where they talk to internet addicts. There's like what do they call it? A retreat for internet addicts to recover. And talking to the two of them, every time I think I'm addicted to the internet, I'm just going to think about the two people that they focused on that segment of the movie and realize that I'm actually not addicted to the internet. I maybe use it a little too much, but I'm not actually addicted to it, and that's good. So anyways, if you're like a casual internet user, you'll probably find this fascinating, but if you're like a heavy internet user, you'll definitely be like, oh my god. And if you love sci-fi, there's a lot of the people he talks to are scientists that are working towards things that show up in sci-fi. I don't know. It's fascinating, but like I said, I wish he had delved into social media and internet communities, like at all. That would have been nice. So this was Werner Herzog's, lo and behold, Reveries of the Connected World. It just opened this weekend, and you should go see it. It's probably playing in a Landmark theater because it's released by Magnolia, and pretty much if it's a Magnolia film, it's in a Landmark. It might also be on VOD. A lot of Magnolia films are released day and date that way. I don't know. Fascinating film.